I'd like to call the meeting, Pitt County Board of Education meeting to order for January 5th, 2015, and in the third floor. And everyone's here tonight except Mary Williams. Nice to have you back, Charles.
Everybody's here.
Yeah.
Except me.
At this time, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Benji?
Okay, let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we'll have a moment of silence. We want to remember our students, remember the parents, all of our employees that we have within our district and their safety. And we always are thinking about and trying to make sure that our kids are safe and that they're doing the best that they can. And let's have a moment of silence. Dear God, we thank you for this day. We pray that this will be a productive meeting, that it will be a meeting to where the children will be given educational opportunities that will further their education, and it will be in the best interest of this county. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. We have any adjustments to the agenda? I have a motion to approve.
Approve the agenda.
Mark moved that we approve the agenda, and Ms. Mildred seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, at this time, we have public expression, and we've got two, and they're individuals, so they will be given 3 minutes. And the first one is Rod Ellen.
I'd like to thank you, first of all, for the pledge and the prayer. As an educator of 22 years, recently came to light the lesson plan that was in Farmville, which I'm sure everyone's aware of. A few notes I made about it that I wanted to just express, and it was a problem. First off, this was a vocabulary lesson, not a religion lesson. It seemed that the entire lesson that I read was about a single religion, and the questions seemed to be worded as the truth. Could the lesson have been inclusive of all religions? Could they have asked several different questions to address those vocabulary words? And then when you went to the definitions of the vocabulary words, they were all defined in Islamic terms, not dictionary terms. The wording made Islam seem favorable over the other religions. That's what I saw. Our country, while a melting pot, is about 70% Christian. I myself am Irish, German, Cherokee, and Norwegian. So I melted right in there. There is no factual history about Islam, Jesus, or any other religion. They all come from books that were written ages ago. And why this particular textbook was chosen over others is a question that I have, because I have been to textbook seminars in Greensboro and so forth over my 22 years, had to choose textbooks for the courses that I taught. And I know that there are many companies that produce different textbooks, and they word things differently. And we had to pick out what we thought was the best. And I'd just like to know why this one was chosen and who chose it. And what your plans are to address the public concerns, which I'm sure you've had quite a few comments about it. And my last question to you is, Common Core really good for all of us? Because if you look across the United States, I know there are about 16 states that are starting to go away from the Common Core. And I myself have had some problems with it when I taught. So those were my concerns, and some concerns from some parents that asked me to come and speak. So I thank you for your time, And again, thank you for your pledge and your prayer.
Thank you. Okay, it's 3 minutes for Mr. Joe Center.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to what I have to say. I'm not from this county. I drove a long way to get here. When I heard about this Islam lesson plan, I was upset. I'll be honest, I'm a Christian, and I am biased. I feel like this lesson plan was biased toward the Islam religion because every question in it had something to say about Islam or Muhammad. And if the lesson plan had been drawn up and said something about Jesus Christ or Buddha, a number of other religions, then I wouldn't have driven down here. The fact that it was biased toward Islam is what upset me. There were no definitions given for these words. It was entirely used with an example and then asked the students to use it. So I believe it would have been better addressed if there had been a definition that told the student what the word was supposed to mean according to the dictionary and not based upon the Islamic religion. And my last point is, were the students allowed to opt out of this test because the law states if something is presented that conflicts with the students' religious beliefs, they should be allowed to opt out of that particular presentation or test or whatever is being presented. And you will have to find that out. I don't expect an answer. But were the students allowed to opt out? Because I really believe this was in opposition to their Christian beliefs that the majority of students would have. And if there are any atheistic students, then they would definitely be opposed to it also. Thank you for giving me your time.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to have a spotlight on teaching and learning. Brock? And I would like to say that in the future, we probably are going to reverse the spotlight and teaching. We're going to have the spotlight and teaching right after the adjustments to the agenda, and then we'll have the public expression after that. So we can make that change.
Good evening and Happy New Year. I have a couple people that are here tonight to be recognized, but I wanted to bring to your attention a couple of things that have taken place since we were last together in early December that I think are really good for our district. One, I put these at your spots around the table so you can see the holiday card winners from the district. We have representatives from Aden Elementary, Welcome Middle, and Farmville Central to win the competition for the superintendent and board's holiday card. Those went out all across the state, and you can actually see the copies of the cards underneath the students' photos there. This was posted on the website. Also, just so you know, Jamie Dickerson won Regional Teacher of the Year since our last meeting, and I've got the article from the newspaper here, but it was wonderful. She was surprised during an assembly at the school, and we had representatives of the central office, her family, part of the regional selection team there, and it was just a wonderful time and something that we should be very proud of. And then last, I've got a poster. A second grade student at Chicad Elementary drew this, Whitney Hanley. This was the winning K2 poster for a statewide competition that coincides with the 175th anniversary celebration of public schools in North Carolina. So students from throughout the state submitted these, and I had to go in and film this young lady, and I'm in there, And I said, okay, I've got to film you drawing a poster, so just, just try to draw what you drew that won the competition. And this is what she produced just that day when I was in there, so it's kind of a replica of what she did, but you get an idea, so that's good representation for us as well. She will be invited to the 175th anniversary celebration, which will be held in March in Raleigh, March 18th, 19th, somewhere around there. So I thought you all might be interested in knowing some of that as well. Now, to the folks we have here tonight.
Brock, hold on a sec. Can we get her to our next meeting?
Can.
I will certainly, I was
I think it
going
would be good
to,
if she would come, we could present her or something.
well, my goal was to wait until after the celebration,
fine.
because we've got video footage of her, and that was kind of what I was hoping, is we could bring that video that played during the celebration as well, and have her
As long
here at
as
that
we can
time.
have her.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now for our first person that's on the agenda tonight, we've got CMF science teacher Jennifer Stalls. And I'm going to bring up EPS Assistant Principal Jeff Sauls to talk a little bit about her and her recent accomplishment.
Good evening. Guys, I'm here to talk about something exciting that's happening at EPS. About a year and a half ago, we interviewed Jennifer Stalls for a science teacher position, and we could tell right away, she's got it. She knows what she's doing. I had no idea that she would get, I taught science for 9 years. I had no idea she would get so much further ahead than I ever did in a year and a half. She has presented at national conferences, the National Science Teacher Association Conference. She's presented at the state level Science Teacher Conference. And the most important thing and the most thrilling thing to watch is she presents every day at CMEPS to our kids, about 125, 30 every day. It's exciting to be in her room. I think the superintendent had an opportunity to be in there one time. And I'd like to bring her down now because it's not about me, it's not about EPS, it's about Ms. Stalls. And guys, come on down. This is the plaque that was presented to her as the District 1 Middle School Science Outstanding Science Teacher Award. Region 1, I guess, is the northeast part of the state. So congratulations, and we're very proud of you.
Hold on just a minute. I'll write some information. On behalf of the board, we're extremely proud of you, and we appreciate you being in our county.
She is.
Brock, she has some guests with her tonight, I think.
She does.
Maybe she could
If you would like
introduce
to
them.
introduce your guests.
Come on down, Ms. Stalls.
Sure. This is my mom, Lynn, and my dad, Paul, my biggest support system.
That's great.
Okay, next I'm going to ask W.H. Robinson Principal Tiffany Vincent to come up and talk about a kindergarten teacher she has that's doing some really special things there as well.
Thank you, Brett. Good evening. I am Tiffany Vincent, the principal at W.H. Robinson Elementary School, and this evening I have the honor to be part of a recognition for one of our teachers, Ms. Heather Landreth. Ms. Landreth's a national board certified teacher, completed her bachelor's and her master's at ECU. She has taught at H.B. Sugg and currently teaches at W.H. Robinson. She's been a Teacher of the Year at Sugg and W.H. Robinson and a Pitt County School Teacher of the Year finalist in 2009 and 2013. She's a member of the Professional Educators of North Carolina and is the representative for that organization at our school. She's a mentor to many new teachers and ECU interns. She's a leader on her grade level and on our school improvement team. has applied for and received many grants, including the Impact Ventures Technology Grant that emphasizes technology integration practices in our classrooms. There are many reasons we should applaud these recognitions and the efforts of Heather Landreth, but tonight we're to recognize her most recent accomplishment. Ms. Landreth has been selected as a North Carolina finalist for the Presidential Awards for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. She is one of 3 finalists from North Carolina. There are 3 from each state in the United States. This spring, the finalists will be notified, and that person will represent North Carolina for this recognition and attend recognition events in Washington, D.C., as well as a monetary reward of $10,000. In December, Ms. Landreth, her husband, Dr. Linker, and I attended a ceremony for all the finalists, and it was held at Burroughs Welcome Center in the Research Triangle Park. And the following day, Ms. Landreth was recognized at the State Board of Education meeting at the Department of Public Instruction, of course, in Raleigh. It's an honor to have Ms. Landreth as a teacher at W.H. Robinson, and at this time, I would like for us to show our appreciation for her service to the children in Pitt County schools. Heather?
Thank you, Ms. Vincent. That was very nice. First, I want to thank Ms. Vincent for nominating me for this prestigious award. I was honored just to be nominated for the award. I got a nice little email that said, you've been nominated by your principal for this award, and I read all the wonderful things she was just saying that could happen if you got it. And so I was just super excited to get started on creating my portfolio, which was very much like that of national boards. It consisted of a 45-minute video of teaching STEM is what they were looking for: science, technology, engineering, and math. In my classroom, however, I don't teach science and, okay, science time is up, let's move on to math. We integrate it all. So the lesson that I sent in, of course, was it included science, technology, it included an engineering piece and a mathematics piece. So I think the integration of all of those subjects together is probably what helped my portfolio stand out just a little bit from the others. The other thing that I wanted to make sure I said that helped mine hopefully stand out from the others is the Impact Ventures grant that Ms. Vincent mentioned earlier. I and 3 other colleagues from W.H. Robinson received the grant last year and went through about 120 hours of training over the course of the year. And it was overwhelming at first, but it has really changed the way that I teach. My children are learning so much more than they have in the past, and it's just been a really great experience. So I thank Pitt County for allowing me the opportunity to even apply for a grant such as Impact Ventures, because I think that's what helped make the difference in helping me achieve this award. So thank you.
Pitt County Board of Education proudly recognizes you for creating excellence in the East and all your hard work. And it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of time out of your personal life, too, to be able to do things like this, and we're appreciative of it.
Thank you.
All right. Be so eager about that.
A thorn between 2 roses.
A big thorn, too. When you ladies get that photo, mark the man in the middle out.
Thank you.
You can't do that.
Y'all want to come in?
Yeah.
Okay, our next presenter is Ms. Suzanne Dixon from Chicago, AIG teacher at the school, and she's going to talk a little bit about her 12 team and what they recently accomplished.
Thank
Thank you for having us here tonight. I feel so honored to share the podium with such prestigious teachers. This year, we had the opportunity to join the North Carolina Association for Scholastic Activities. Mr. DeCreasy sort of presented the opportunity to us, and if you don't know this about me, I'm extremely competitive. So we took on the challenge, and personally, at Chicago, I chose to participate in the 12 competition. 12 students, 12 categories, 12 minutes to form your team, and then you go. So when I have 72 AIG students, and when I had to make the decision of who to invite, sometimes I just put a note on my podium and say, if you'd like to do this, see me after school. I did personal invitations to 16 kids. These are the kids that I can tell Jillian reads the newspaper in the morning. They watch the news at night. They can contribute like a miniature adult in our conversations in class. So I invited 16 people to come with basketball, travel, sports, and everything else that's going on. It just worked itself out beautifully. We had 12 students. So when we started practicing, I told them, I have no idea what this competition is about. I've never been before. We might go, and as long as we're not in last place, I'll be fine. And so we got lost. The school was in Gates County. We could not find it. GPS did not pick it up. We got lost. I was riding along with other schools. Let me throw that out there. I was not in charge. And so we got there a few minutes late, and we felt like we had gone back in time just a bit. I was right at home being at Chicago. And so we went in the competition, and after the first round, we were in 4th place. And I was like, there is hope. We're going to do okay. Let me tell you, some of these categories, I must have slept throughout school and college because some of the questions I had never heard of, and they got them right. I was so impressed. So we ended up winning 1st place in the regional competition. We're not going to really talk about the state competition because it was a learning experience. It was very difficult, but these kids, and I cannot brag about them enough, most of them studied at home. They did a lot on their own. Their parents, every single practice, they were on time to pick them up after school. They had to drive them to the competition themselves in Durham because I had a family commitment that morning and I met them there, but it all worked out great. And I'm so excited that I chose 6th, 7th, and 8th graders because next year I've already got some people in line that know what it's all about. And I promise you, we're going to be a lot higher at the state level next year. So for the 6 people that are here, I have Brianna Bello. You can stand up.
Hey, how about come right up here so we can get all of them? I like to
Seth
see them
Harris.
all. All right with you, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman?
it's fine. Yeah, come on up here.
Aaron Porter. Kylie Dunbar, and can I just say that Kylie's category, she got all 12 questions right. The only one the entire day at the competition, by the way. Emily's not here, Samantha's not here. Jacob Baird. Jillian Bratton. And I will also share with you that they got a winning T-shirt at the competition, and I was slightly ticked off because they did not give the coach a T-shirt. But I filed my formal complaint, and when we did our team shirts, I had one, but I could not find it tonight. I apologize.
Working with you, I always heard a complaint.
But look where it gets us.
Let's get a picture of all these.
All right. Come on. Get our picture taken. And Mr. Forbes used to be our principal before you were even in school.
Before you were even born.
Mr. Forbes was back before they built the school.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Oh, yeah. I know, I can look at her and tell, and the way she's talking. Gracious. Consent items, do we have anyone that can make a motion regarding our consent items?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Mark made the motion.
Second that.
Sean seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
They approve. We go over to new business, and this was a meeting, one of Mark's last meetings as chair. EPS committee update.
I was in a meeting in Raleigh at our last meeting, so unfortunately, I was not able to make that meeting. Ms. Olmsted will fill us in, I'm sure.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
The Educational Programs and Services Committee, Board Committee met along in conjunction with the HR Committee meeting. And so we met on December the 15th. Present for the meeting were board members Mildred Council, Caroline Daltrey, Worth Forbes, Benji Forrest, Walter Gaskins, and Mary B. Williams. Ms. Williams presided over the joint meeting. The first topic that was presented was the proposal for differentiated pay for teachers. The North Carolina Education Endowment Fund, the General Assembly has received funds, planned funds from the North Carolina Education Endowment Fund for local LEAs to cover differentiated pay for highly effective teachers. And so they've asked the LEAs, they asked each LEA to submit ideas on how that process or plan or how that could be done in the LEAs. Seth Brown, the teacher support coordinator, and Thomas Fellow, the professional development coordinator, have actually been in charge of putting that proposal and plan together. They've met with teachers, they've met with administrators, they've gotten input, and so they devised and created a proposal for the differentiated pay plan. They call it the Teacher Career Ladder Proposal. The board, Ms. Williams made a motion to approve that model. It was presented that night at the work session through a PowerPoint presentation, and Ms. Williams made the motion to approve the model with Ms. Council's second. All the board members agreed to it, so they will be presenting it by email on January the 15th. And then from there, we'll wait to hear what they're going to do and how they're going to fund and what they'll use. They could combine it, they could throw it in the trash, but anyway, we thought it was important for Pitt County to be heard from. It was a good proposal, very well thought out. Really good comments came from the board members about the proposal. They were very impressed with the thought that had gone into it in the plan. The second item that was discussed was the online STEM survey that we've done. Over 800 people went onto our website and participated in the survey. Most of those were parents. And out of that survey, 81% of the survey participants believed that STEM education was important. 92% said they would support the development of a STEM-focused middle school. 81% said they would be willing to send a child to a STEM-focused middle school in their outside of their own attendance area. And 70% said they would be willing to provide transportation. So quite a bit of discussion took place with that. It was decided that we wanted to make sure that as we move forward from this, that we do it strategically and step by step. So some discussion took place around the fact that we're right now putting in STEM labs in the middle schools. So we decided, the board decided that we would utilize the STEM labs that's in place right now for information. In other words, we're going to make sure we invite parents out to see what STEM education is all about. We're going to use the training that we do for the STEM labs to also increase the training that we're using for teachers to get our population ready. Mr. Forbes suggested that once we feel like we're ready to move forward with the middle school, that we do another online survey and actually propose a location to see if the same percentage of parents would be willing to participate outside their attendance area. So it became very strategic, and so Right now, what we're going to do then is we're going to move forward with training. We're training 3 teachers in each of the middle schools, a science teacher, math teacher, an art teacher, and then the STEM lab teacher. And then in the K-8 schools, we're also doing the same thing, and that training will take place this summer. So that's kind of the next steps that we'll go through. And then as we feel like we're getting that training in place and getting the capacity built, then we're going to move forward with the online survey for the middle school. The third item was just a reminder that we did send a letter to, from the superintendents, and that we supported a letter to go out to the State Board of Education to implement the 10-point grading scale all at once. Right now, it's proposed that it does a 9th grade the first year, and then a 9th, and it's phased in. And we, the superintendents and the Central RESA, wrote a letter requesting that it happen all at once. We've not heard back from that. And then I'll turn it over to Dr. Jackson if there's no questions.
And that will be effective,
Right now, the 10-point scale,
will be started
next year.
Next.
the next school term. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. And Happy New Year to you. As Ms. Olmsted stated earlier, we did have a joint committee meeting, and there are several items that I'm going to go over that we reviewed, and 2 of them will be after my report. The first thing I want to discuss was our teacher turnover summary. We did discuss that on that particular day. We did have a decrease of about 1.56% from 1805 to 1649. That was our percentage, so we are seeing a slight decrease. I am currently analyzing the data that was given to us by the state to determine the counties around us where people have left us that in the surrounding counties, and others as well, to try to see if there's any particular pattern that is evident, and I will bring that information to the committee that was requested in the meeting at our January meeting for Human Resources Committee. So all those questions will be answered at that time, and I'll also send it out to the other members. We also discussed the Affordable Care Act. We did have 3 people that were eligible for the Affordable Care Act insurance. And just to let you know, that is a 50/50 insurance plan with a $5,000 deductible. We had 1 person to sign to decline and 2 to verbally decline. So we're waiting for them to sign up for that now. So we have met our obligation of offering the insurance so that we will not be fined by the federal government. And that is where we are for this first look-back period, and now we're in look-back period number 2. So we did discuss that. We're also in the process of gathering data for the classified salary study. At the time of the meeting, we had heard from 39 counties. So at this point in time, my office manager is calling the counties that we have not heard from that are size alike and surrounding to get as much data as possible on all the pay grades and steps that they're paying their classified employees in other counties. So once we have that data to a point where we feel like we have enough that is sufficient for our study, we will present that as well. And the next thing that we talked about from that standpoint, and I'll wait for the other 2, was regarding the school attorney process. Ms. Williams is not here tonight, so she asked me to share what we had done thus far and what we will do. At the time of the meeting, we had received 22 applications. I think since then, we have received 3 more, 1 by letter and 2 by email, for this position. As an initial review, myself, Dr. Linker, and our support counsel, Ms. Deborah Stagner, went through the applications to do kind of a screening process to look for those that had the experience, had some type of internship or worked in a school setting, or it could be school district, it could be social services, something that indicated they had some knowledge of school law. So from that, at that point, we narrowed it down to 6 applications. A discussion in the HR committee meeting that we had on December 15th was whether we would look at those 6, the committee, as far as the HR committee would look at those 6 at that time, and the process that was recommended at that time was to narrow down to 3 people to interview. Now, the question of the board that is going to come up for a decision from you as the governing body is how you want the interview process to take place at that point in time. Yes, Mr. Morris.
I'm just giving you my opinion. What I would propose is that, let's see, your committee, there was 22, and you've gotten 2 more. So it'd be 24.
Well, I think possibly 3. I think I
Three
got a
more.
letter today,
Or
just a few minutes
25.
ago. So 25.
All right, or 25 or 26. And then your committee narrows it down to 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Human Resources Committee, they'll take those 6 and narrow it down to 3.
Correct.
And then I feel like the full board needs to interview those final 3.
Well, that is the recommendation that you are more than capable of making, and I think that's something that needs to be discussed.
I think
and
we
get
need
shown.
to have a motion or discussion, a motion for that first before we can have the discussion. Yes.
Is that the recommendation of your panel?
Well, the panel did not get to the point of making a recommendation at that time after determining they would narrow it down to 3. After that, we did not have any further discussion about how that 3 was going to take place at that moment.
So the panel would narrow it to 3 with the
Correct.
option of the board looking at the 6?
Well, the panel, we're at 6 now.
Right.
That was just from basic application screening. That was from myself, Dr. Linker, and Ms. Stagner. So we narrowed it down to 6. Now, based on the 3 that we just received, that might increase because we received a couple more. So from that, what was recommended from the committee at that time is that that 6 be reviewed at the next Human Resources Committee meeting. And from there, the committee would determine the 3 that they would like to interview. And that's as far as we got at that moment.
I make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we respect that process that they put in place. I think that seems to be a deliberative process and they put together, and I don't think we should jump in at this point and change that process.
And basically, that's what I, yeah.
Who'd you say was on that committee now?
Well,
Mildred?
the screening committee was myself, Dr. Linker, and Ms. Stagner. The HR committee was present at that point in time, which was Mr. Gaskins, Ms. Council, and
Ms.
Ms.
Williams.
Williams. And plus, we had EPS members there as
Will
well.
the screening committee look at these other ones that just came in?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. That's why
Yeah.
I indicated that we may have more than 6 to look at.
right.
And so from that, my point is that from that point, the deciding factor that the Board of Education, which is you, need to make is how you're going to deal with interviewing the 3 finalists.
Right.
That is the question at
And
hand.
before we have any more discussion, he made a motion, Mark made a motion, if we get a second, and then we can discuss.
The only other thing I would follow before we receive a second, if I
Yeah.
could, did the other 3 that have put in, did they meet the deadline for the application period?
We have not technically
Had a
closed
deadline.
it or
Okay.
had a deadline. It
That's
was
fine.
until filled.
Second motion.
Okay, any other discussion? Sean?
You know, I know it'd be muddy in the waters maybe a little bit, but I would like to see the full board interview the final 5 rather than the final 3, just for options. I have all the faith in the committee to screen people down, but having gone through this process once before, as well as a superintendent search, I would just like to increase the applicant pool that comes before the board from 3 to 5.
Walter?
You know, we're dealing with a delicate position here, and, you know, for 3 or 4 people to pick up, to do away with some of them or not. The way had done it back before then was, we got the board members got all the applications, and then we picked certain ones, and we brought them together. See, I'm in on this on the bottom end, just like Caroline is, because this process got started before we got on the board. I just kind of like to see, if nothing else, a list who did apply, or something. I'm not happy with right now. I'll be honest with you. I just got some questions, and I just like to see. And I'm like him, I think, like Sean, I think we should interview more than 3, maybe 5, or maybe there's 6 finalists, if it comes out to that.
Then what do you propose that your Human Resources Committee, what would be your,
Well, I thought the Human Resource Committee was actually gonna look at all of them, and then we narrow it down, but see, I haven't seen the first one. You know, that's what I thought was gonna happen, but
well, I mean, it's the pleasure of the board, if the Human Resources Committee, if they want to look at all of them, but we gotta vote that will take place.
well,
You got to have a motion to his amendment.
No, you got to have an amendment.
I mean, amendment to his motion.
Okay, I'll make an amendment that the Resource Committee get a chance to look at all of them, and then,
And narrow.
and I'm not trying to say that Dr. Linker and Delilah and them are not knowing what they're doing, because I have full confidence in them. I just like to see what's going on. Being I'm coming in like you, in the middle of this thing.
All right, you're saying that you want to look at all of them. Okay, you're going to
I like
narrow them
looking at
down
all
to
of
how
them,
many?
yes.
You're going to narrow them down to what? Are you satisfied with his
The 5 or 6, whichever we narrow them down to, and then we interview those, and then out of that, the board will pick, they think is the best candidate. Because this is a delicate position, because this person's,
all the applicants, we'll bring our 6 or 7 that we think, because half of them aren't even qualified for the job, which is why we would not recommend you have to, waste that time. But we'll just bring all the applications to the next committee meeting, and that's
Yes.
easy to do.
That is very easy to do.
With our recommendation for
because
5, 6, 7, and then the
So
committee go from there.
what you're saying is basically the full board looks at all of them.
but
Is
yeah,
that
they can
okay?
look at all of them, and then they can make some recommendations, and we can narrow it down. I just don't like I like for the whole board to know who applied, something about some of them, each one's background, and something about what each attorney, that they did.
So,
I mean, that's what I'm saying now. I mean,
so your Human Resources Committee, your committee
Yes, sir.
that you're on, your duty will be what?
To bring 6,
Bring
5
what?
or 6 back to us.
5, 6, whatever. If I think it needed 7 to come before the board, I have no problem with that.
Any other comments from someone that's on that committee?
I'm on the committee, and I understand what you're saying, Mr. Gaskin, but I think we said in the committee meeting that we would allow the staff to look at them, because some of them are not qualified anyway. If they don't have experience, that knocks several out. Some of these people are just getting out of law school, and they have never even done any work. So they are helping us. I was on the committee when we went through that other process, and it's a whole lot of work unnecessarily. And if we got a qualified staff that interview and hire people every day, let them go through it, go through those applicants that don't qualify. And if we want the whole board to see those, then that's fine, but I don't think we need to waste our time going over some, if they don't meet the criteria. We have a criteria set. If they don't meet that criteria, then just put them over to the side, and we still have the right as board members to look at them, but why waste that valuable time looking at something that we know they don't qualify? They have not had any experience, they know nothing about school law and all of that, they just want a job. And then let our committee, as we had already made that decision, to select the top 3 that meets all the criteria, and then we go from there. And I have no problem if you want to add 5 to it, but I certainly don't want to look at 30 or 40 like we did before, because it's a lot of wasted time, and these people don't even qualify, so let them do the work for the Board of Education. And we can take those same 30, if you want to see all of them, that's fine, or anybody on the board want to see them all, but I don't want to see them all if they don't tell me they don't qualify anyway. I trust them to the amount, we have a paid staff to do the job, we're the policymakers, and we are the ones to look at the ones that actually qualify to be hired, if we could hire them all, but there's no need of seeing them if they don't qualify.
All right.
That's my opinion.
One more thing. How many applied that doesn't even have their license?
The exact number, I do not know, but majority of them just finished law school May 2014. We had
Have they
about,
passed the bar?
we look at.
As long as they pass the bar.
Correct.
Then, but if they haven't passed the bar, then that's as far as I'm concerned, that person is eliminated.
Exactly.
Because you got to pass that bar first,
Exactly.
Now, as far as qualified,
And if they have not
Now,
worked, then we
you-
don't want
maybe-
them as a school attorney.
your deal,
I don't think, if they have not worked
your
at
deal
all.
of qualified and mine are 2 different things.
Be sure you
Me,
talk to
I
the
kinda
full
like
board,
to-
Walter. Be sure you're talking to the full board, so
And I
everybody
did
can hear.
want
Go
to
ahead.
share that we did have a couple of applicants that are third-year law students right now today that applied. So we looked at them and we eliminated those that had just got out in May. As Ms. Council said, some of them had not even started a job, or they were doing an internship or working at some type of paralegal or something for the university in which they graduated. So that's what we looked at.
Walter, any other comments?
No, well, she was talking about experience. I mean, I like to say a young person that's going to stay with us and not just like get a few years and they gone.
Right.
That's what I'm looking. I mean, if we have to hire somebody who ain't got but 10 minutes experience, that's fine, as long as they're going to stay with us and be committed to this board. I can work with anybody like that.
Miss-
Not just to come in and get a job like that.
Miss
This is a big
Camp.
system. And to get a job as a lawyer here and do good, then somebody's going to offer them a lot of money here to go.
Ms.
I want
Camp.
this person to come in and stay.
What number were you recommending that that would be presented to the full board?
I think the committee made the decision in the committee to bring to you all for approval, and then, of course, it's up to the board to decide if they want to do more, but we recommended the 3 because we've been through the process before, so I don't have any problem personally doing 5 or 6 if that's what the board wants, but your committee is set up to make recommendations to you, and then we all vote on it. That's all policies, I understand it. So
Right.
I have no problems with that.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to push my motion back to the forward.
To full?
Push my motion back to the forward of the board to vote on.
Okay. Restate it again so everybody will be clear.
Support the decision of the HR committee to bring forth the 3 applicants that they have decided upon. I think they've had a deliberative process that they've gone through, and they've done this much more thorough than what we have done in the process. They've looked at the applications. They have a specific finite, as Ms. Council has said, in terms of what they have reviewed and looked at. I think we need to respect that and not muddy their waters in terms of what they have done to whittle them down to this point.
Okay, there's a motion. Any other discussion?
I'd like to offer an amendment to the motion,
Okay,
and that amendment would be to everything Mr. Richard said, except make the number 5. And if I could get a second to that.
I'll second that.
okay. Any discussion on that? He said 5.
5. I'd go with that.
Wait, hold on. Any other discussion? All those in favor of having 5 being brought to the 5 applicants being
I've
brought
got a
to?
question. I just want to double sure that I'm getting a full understanding. They are going to go back through all the applicants, everybody that has mailed something in, sent an email, that Human Relations Committee.
Human Resources.
Human Resources, I'm sorry. Human Resources. I know, trying to put 2 together, trying to do that. That Human Resources Committee made up of Miss Mildred and Waller and who else?
Miss Williams.
Ms.
And
Williams.
Miss Williams are going to look at them. Okay. I just want to make sure.
Okay, and they're going to look at all of them, and they are going to bring, his motion is to bring 5 back to the full board. That's an amendment to Mark's motion. All those in favor, say aye. Oh, I got a question?
Mr. Chairman, you had a motion that was properly seconded and then a motion to amend, so you'll need a vote to approve the amendment and then vote on the amended motion.
All right, that's what we were doing, I thought.
Yeah, that's what we do.
But,
We're voting on the number 5 first, right?
yes.
In effect. Okay. There we go.
Right. All those in favor of Sean's amendment of 5 being brought back to the full board, all those in favor?
I thought he had the motion.
What, we got to vote on the amendment
Oh, okay.
to the motion. All those in favor? Opposed? 1, okay. So they're going to bring 5 back. Now let's go back to the original motion
As amended.
as amended, which we're saying that the Human Resources Committee, they're going to look at the applicants. They're going to narrow them down to 5, and then 5 will be brought back to the full board to interview. Okay, all those in favor of that amendment, raise your hand.
Don't know if you voted on
All those opposed? Okay, so that motion passed.
it. We can complicate it, can't it?
You sure can.
Thank you. Okay,
All right, let's go. Continue on, Delilah.
Okay,
Be
thank
sure,
you.
that's
Yeah.
all.
Delilah.
That's all, I just want to be sure that what we do is right.
Right, I agree.
I will make sure that all applications are available. They're available in my office, starting tomorrow, if someone wants to come in prior to the committee meeting to look at the information. So next, under Human Resources, the two things that were on our meeting agenda that I had not discussed, because they're coming up now. The first one is the first reading of the revised policy 7.208, which deals with classified personnel suspension and dismissal. It starts on page 12. The original policy that was here was dated back, I think, to 1986. It has not been revised since then. We worked very closely with Ms. Deborah Stagner to revise this policy, and based on her recommendation, we are following the format of what is recommended by the North Carolina School Board Association. And this is the policy that is among their legal services that are provided to our district. Now, the policy that you see at the beginning is the old policy that has been scratched out beginning on page 12, or struck through, 13, 14, and the top of 15. The biggest change in this policy that occurred based on information, concerns from our public and others was about the fact that our classified employees did not have the opportunity to receive a hearing. This policy clearly follows through that process of what it would be in the terms of if an employee that is classified was dismissed for cause, that they would have the right to appeal that particular status. And that is the biggest change of this policy. Now, before, the things that you saw listed as the things that they could be suspended for or terminated for, they're actually from the teacher 115C 325. But when the policy was written, that was applied to classified as well, and they are distinctly by law two different sets of employees. So what we're doing is giving them the right to have a hearing. Regardless, if they would like one, they will have one, which is also what a certified teacher or any certified personnel has the right to have at this point in time. So this is the first reading. I would ask if y'all would thoroughly read over it, and if you have any questions, to please contact Dr. Linker, myself, and then we'll be in consultation with Ms. Stagner if there are any concerns. But I really think this is something that's worth looking over even more clearly if you have not had a chance to do before, and it will be brought back up for second reading at our next meeting.
Sounds good.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a
Sure.
question at first reading?
Yes.
Just, I just have one point of confusion.
Okay.
Dr. Jackson, on page 16?
16?
Yes, ma'am. It says last revision date, June 4th, 2012. And I know it's been very clear that the last time we revised this was, I think, in 1986. And where's this 2012 date come from? Is
It
this just
may-
in here as an error or what
I'll
happened?
have to go back because in the previous one, it says last revision, July 2nd, 1986. I think we might have revised the procedure,
I think Rob did.
and I think Rob revised the procedure for this particular one because we,
Procedure.
had to add in
And
the
that's where that
panel.
date probably came from,
But not the policy.
policy.
Okay, so we would,
Yeah.
Correct. And we'll make sure we get that taken care of.
thank you.
Mr. Counsel?
I'd just like to say, I think this is going to be a much better policy because sitting on that committee, it always concerned me that we did not allow, people to have a hearing, if the superintendent said, no and or whatever. But I think this now, and like I always would say, and Mr. Gash, you're going to love me on this one, that everybody needs to be heard. I want to hear both sides of the story, and no matter what. And unless there's just a case that we have pictures that we know they did whatever. But if we clearly don't know, everybody deserves a hearing. period. And I think has been the frustration coming from the community, is that people, are blamed for things. And a lot of times, as I had been saying for the past 2 years, that sometimes the adults act like children in our system. And this is a great time for the principals and all their staff to get together and treat everybody with the highest of respect. Everybody brings something to the table, and if there's something going on, give the person a time. If they make a mistake, nobody's perfect. Give them time to straighten it out, but don't just be writing people up and trying to get rid of them for little stuff. And so I think this is going to really protect our employees much better than that past policy that we had. Because sometimes people just didn't have an opportunity to be heard, and that is not right. And I'm glad that this one is, if I'm understanding it correctly, everybody now can be heard if they so choose. Is that not right?
That is correct.
All right, thank you.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
And okay, and the last thing I have is the first reading of the proposed 2015-16 academic calendar, and that starts on page 18. On page 18, we clearly have an overview of the proposed calendar to let you know that we're within the appropriate number of days. And we have the 9 weeks and the 6 weeks broken up as far as when they end. We have our system designated days, which are days when it's mandatory for our staff members to be here for trainings of open house or whatever is designated. We have early release days, which is something that we put in place the last couple of years because we did not have days to have parent conferences, and that is what those days are used for. Our K-8 group has Parent Conference Day, which allows the 9-12 group of schools to have professional development and vice versa. So that is the proposal for early release dates. And also, based on the policy that was adopted for 7.013 regarding TAs, when we had a shortage of funds there, there's other designated days when TAs will not work. And let me clarify that students are not in the building. These are days when teachers are in professional development, so it is not hurting students with these particular 10 days. And if you will flip over to the next page, we have a new format for the calendar that we hope will provide a clear understanding of what our calendar looks like. We have the calendar on the side with the designated days, and we also have a calendar legend under July, because that is not a time when school is in session, so we put the color legend there in the hopes that it will help make it easier to read. And we do have all the other designated dates. This is the first reading. It did go through our calendar committee, also went through our senior leadership and the Human Resources Committee. So I bring this calendar forth to you today for first reading. And we do have a timeline because our master schedules have to be done in Power School. So we are bringing it forth now, hopefully for a final vote in February, so calendars can be, schedules can be created for our students.
Sounds good. Walter?
Remember I asked you in the last meeting about people that were leaving the system?
Correct?
Correct. Did you ever get that information?
I am working on that, and I
Okay.
will provide it for you at the January HR meeting.
I ain't forgot.
I know, I haven't either.
Okay, thank you.
That's it, Yolanda?
Thank you, y'all have a great
Thank
night.
you. Okay, comments by the superintendent?
Just, I guess, wish everyone a Happy New Year and hope everyone had a great Christmas vacation. Also, kind of it's a long 3 months till Easter. Remember the teachers out there that when you see them, give them a little pat on the back and tell them we appreciate what they're doing. Thank you.
I would just like to say again, I commend folks on Spotlight on Teaching and Learning. I think that was, we had a good group. And I also would like to remind everyone that I just think it would be good if we start off our meetings with a positive at the beginning, when change our agenda and have Spotlight on Teaching and Learning prior to public expression and so forth, and just go right into the very positive that we see in our county. Not saying that the public expression is not important, but start off our meeting that way. I think it's good for all of us as well as our community. So again, and another thing I would like to commend the Policy Committee and Delilah's area for that policy, allowing classified personnel to be heard, because that's what I've heard from the community, that they didn't have a chance to voice their opinion like they felt that they should. And I think that takes care of that. And I think we've heard from the community and we made adjustments. So, thank you. Billy? Walter?
Yeah, I got one. You know me. Okay. As most of y'all know, I've taught driver's education for approximately 12 years. Over in Edgecombe County where Mark works in different places. And as you read it, next year they're going to cut the funding from the budget. Now, to me, when it comes to a child's life, money should not stand in the way. And I would like for this board to do a resolution to our legislators in favor of continuing the driver's education program. I know it's a lot of money, and it takes a lot, but I've sit in that car with a lot of students, 14, 15, 16, and ladies and gentlemen, they're amazing. If you sit in a car with them for 6 hours apiece, they want to learn, most of them. Most of them have never even been on the road. Most of them, when they get in the car, some of them have said, "Oh, Mr. Gaskin, which is the brake and which is the gas?" Now, they're our future. So I would like for this board to do a resolution in favor of continuing the driver's education program in the state of North Carolina.
If EPS could maybe put that on their agenda and bring something back to the full board. All right. Benji?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to take my comments and make an educational moment out of it.
All right.
And my educational moment will be less than 2 minutes. But at the last meeting, I don't know if it was very, very clear or not, but I wanted to clarify as far as state statute and board members receiving units of credit for renewal. And I think it was suggested that maybe there are some meetings we're supposed to attend, some meetings maybe we don't attend. Within the confines of the board members, within confines of school board members, we are supposed to have a minimum of 12 renewal units per year. You can have more than that, but you're supposed to have 12 per year. There is an unlimited amount of options you have within those 12 units. For example, this year, Mr. Chair, I have a minimum already established through Carroll of 24 units of credit, which is double the amount that state statute says that board members must have. At the last meeting, I think it was maybe suggested that some of us didn't, but I just wanted to explain to our publics that we do meet those criteria and we expand upon that criteria, and I at least doubled mine last year. I got 12 more to turn in. That'll make a total of 36. So I just wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
Mark?
I just want to say thank you to all of our educators in our district that are making a tremendous impact each and every day for the students. Specifically, thanks to Michael Cowan in terms of the strong fiscal stewardship that his department provides. I think our last audit, as it has always been, has been an unqualified audit in the wake of so many issues with so many other school entities that are coming about now. Fiscal stewardship in terms of responsibility of taxpayer money is no small thing to do, and our school system does a tremendous job with that. So hats off to you, Delilah, your department, and the hiring process and all that you do, as well as under EPS and the programs that Ms. Olmstead is responsible for. So great job to what our leaders in our schools are doing. Thank you for that, and great job.
Sean?
I'd like to wish everybody a Happy New Year as well. Mr. Gaskins, I certainly could support a driver's ed resolution going to our state representatives. I'd be fine with that. Mr. Forbes, I would like to expand on your idea on the spotlight and teaching, but also to offer, because of the fine job Brock Letchworth does, to offer a little latitude before a meeting that when things come up like this, second grader at Chicago, that we could expand our agenda very easily right before a meeting to offer some more positives that come in from the schools at a moment's notice. I think we'd all be in favor of that. I'd also like to suggest, I know we had some discussion as a board last year, but agreed to hold off till 2015, maybe about the times of our board meeting, maybe to re-examine that so that staff could get home at a better hour, unless anyone would be opposed to us having conversation about that. And then lastly, I'd like to talk about choices. And I'd like to use our Christmas time as an example of the choices that are made at Pitt County Schools. We do not have a choice in the students that are enrolled in our schools. We have an obligation, a responsibility to educate each and every student. However, the choice on our part is how welcoming an environment we offer at Pitt County Schools. And I'm proud to say that the environment at Pitt County Schools is absolutely outstanding. And that was no better reflected than this past Christmas time, because we have a choice in how we treat each other. And the way I saw homeless students treated, the way I see students that have very little food in their homes treated, and the way staff pulled together to get some students Christmas gifts was nothing less than outstanding, and it is the epitome and the heart and soul of Pitt County Schools, and I thank everyone for that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Appreciate it. Caroline?
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to praise those who put together the Hour of Code. Several schools participated in that in December. It exposes students, really anybody who wants to, for free, to computer coding and demystifies computer programming. I think we need to be doing more of that in Pitt County. I think it's fantastic to offer these types of opportunities to all of our students of all ages, kindergarten through 12th, because guess what? Coding is a language they need to learn. I'd like to also say congratulations to the several different high school bands. I enjoyed 2 of them who participated in 2 different Christmas parades. I think there were others in the county. It just shows how the public schools are an integral part of celebrating the traditions that are important in all of our communities here in Pitt County. And they all sounded really great, the ones I heard. Great big shout out to Jamie Dickerson at Eastern for being the Regional Teacher of the Year. And then finally, congratulations to Susan Holliday. Right before Christmas, she got, she's a nurse at Bethel School. She got something called the Daisy Award, which is an award given for outstanding nursing that has a significant impact on a child's health and well-being. And she really did that, the epitome of high-quality nursing, went above and beyond and helped this family, helped this child get through to some specialty services that they needed that would make a huge difference in this child's life. So shout out for Susan Holliday. Thank you.
Ms. Council?
Okay. Just like to say Happy New Year to all of my colleagues on the board and to all of our Board of Education families throughout the district. And also, I'd just like to say, I still hope that we can come together to discuss some of the issues, that big issue we had during the holiday, and to see where we are on that, because I'm still not sure what our thoughts are. I just heard what other people's thoughts are, and how we can maybe deal with that if it should happen again in the near or distant future, in terms of teaching various religions in school. Because for me personally, I didn't get hung up on it, and I didn't lose no sleep on it. And whoever's listening, it's okay, because I just know that we live in a diversified world today, and it's important that we understand and appreciate all the different diversities there are out there, and we can choose our own. I'm a Christian, and that nobody's going to change that, but I have no problem with those that have other religions. It doesn't bother me. And I'm not a minister to try to change anybody, but I know who I am. And so And as far as our children are concerned, they're gonna be living and working with all the different kinds of people in our community. So I think it's important that we don't be so naive and think that we are the only one that has the right religion or whatever, but be respectful to everybody's. And you determine as an individual which one you're gonna deal with or serve or whatever. But I don't think we should bash anyone or be anti-anybody, because this is a big wide world of ours, and everybody have choices in terms of who they relate to, and our children are going to be moving out into the world, and I can
Your mic goes silent.
is that, is my,
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, is that the beat?
That-
And that's what I would like to see too. I don't think we need to limit board members' discussion, because we don't have no retreats, we can't talk. When we have our time to talk, 2 minutes is crazy. So I really think that we really need to reconsider that and have time for us to express ourselves. If we give the public 5 minutes or 3 minutes and we get 2, that's really not appropriate. I'm sorry.
Well, what I would say is that the way that you can get your, the information out, if we want to put it on the agenda, to where it's an agenda item, then you would have time to share whatever you would like to share regarding, going to a conference or whatever. I can always put it on the agenda, and then you would have plenty of time.
Okay.
All right?
But because when you all spend money to send me, I certainly think it's appropriate for me to come back and share, because so few of us go, and so if you're using taxpayers' money for some of us to go and learn, then I want to share it. And of course, I found some creative ways
Right.
of bringing information back, things that I know that we need to know, whether you read it or not. I just do a little memo and say, these are the things that I learned that I know we all need to know, and here it is.
That'd be-
That's how I have found a way to be helpful to you if you don't.
Right, so what we'll do is, when you go to a conference or something like that, or whomever, not just you, but
Right, well,
anyone
all of
else,
us share.
that we have a point to share, because all of us can gain knowledge as a result of it.
We all learn.
And I'm hearing beeps all over, and even my phone's beeping. It's your overtime.
Ready? Mr. Chair,
And I remember your husband ringing a bell on you now.
Out of order.
Mr. Chair, I move that we go into closed session to consult with our attorney to protect the attorney-client privilege, to consider and give instructions concerning a judicial action titled Rhonda Everett versus Pitt County Board of Education, cited North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, parentheses A, parentheses 3.
Second.
Sean, second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? Pass.